Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Back with another video today, and I'm going to talk about the Soothe2 plugin by Oeksound. This is a plugin that I got a while ago, and I must say I use it in pretty much any session that I do these days. And I think you're going to love this plugin as well, so let's jump right in. So first of all, I have the string section, and there is also a loop. For now, I'm not going to use the loop. I'll get back to that later. So first of all, what I start with is I take the Soothe plugin and drag it onto my channel of the strings, and as we see, this is how it shows up, and there are a bunch of really good presets. If you don't feel like you want to dial in every setting and listen to everything over and over again to find that perfect balance, there's a bunch of really good presets that also might be a really good start point basically for whatever you're trying to achieve. So first of all, this is a string section, so for now, to give you an example, I'll take the contain the low end of the orchestra preset, which is going to do the job for now because we have strings obviously. So this is what it sounds like. Alright, so first of all, as you can see, there are a bunch of different knobs on here, but we're going to take it step by step. So first of all, there's the soft and the hard option. If you choose for the soft option, this is really something to just smoothen out whatever instrument or vocal that you have, and you don't want to change the sound of the original instrument or vocal as much. If you're going for the hard option, it really means taking out the frequencies drastically. And basically, again, going back to the essence of this plugin takes out certain frequencies that go above a certain threshold. Meaning if it's on soft, it's going to treat your sound more subtle, while hard will take out certain frequencies that are just too much. If there's a guitar or a violin or something that's sounding too harsh, and you know that it just sounds bad, you can go for the hard option. Obviously, having a good recording to start with is essential. This plugin won't change your sound, but it will help you smooth out certain things that you might not be able to do with an EQ. Because an EQ, if you boost or cut a certain frequency, it will do that no matter what the volume of that certain frequency is. If you're using a multiband compressor, you're still using a certain frequency range that you're triggering, which is already a little closer to what the Soothe plugin does, but the Soothe plugin really takes it frequency by frequency and does an amazing job in that. So going back to what we were talking about, the soft and hard option, and then with the depth knob, you're gonna decide how much you want to take out or how much you don't want, or leave it as it is basically. And I'll show you based on these strings. And what I can also recommend is to dial your knobs all the way from left to right and just really dare to see what every knob is doing, and based on that you're gonna train your ears as well and really hear where the frequencies are and what every knob is doing. So you see, if depth is all the way up, it's not touching the sound as much, but if you put it on hard, right, I think this shows it pretty good what it's doing. So this is soft, hard, and then with the depth, obviously you will choose how much you take out. Alright, then we go off to the next one, but before we do that, I just want to mention something, and that's that I can highly recommend to use the bypass knob on the plugin itself and not the option from Studio One, because whenever you disable and enable the bypass knob, there's always a little gap in between your original sound and what the plugin is doing, while here the bypass option just makes a smooth transition between the two. And I'll give you an example. Obviously you hear what it's doing, but you want that transition to be as smooth as possible to really hear and not get distracted by any clicks, pops, or time gaps. Alright, I think this shows it pretty well. Off to the next one. So take it out of bypass. Then we have the sharpness. Basically, sharpness is the cue as you would have in your EQ. Let's show it to you here real quick. If we take the Pro Q for now, here, this here is basically what you're changing with the sharpness button. It's basically doing this. This is the cue that you're changing, as you can see here. It's very small, but all right. Meaning, just take out this plugin. Meaning, if you want to be very precise, dial it all the way up. If you want it to have it more smooth, dial it all the way down. Obviously, you know, don't go 0 or 10. You can find something in between that suits your instrument, vocal, or whatever you're trying to do. And then the selectivity is basically how fast will it shift from one frequency to the other, because obviously if you're playing certain chords, your frequencies will shift, and I'll show it to you here. Now we'll shift more between the different chords because you can see these waves shifting more frequently, while here not as much. Okay, so you find a good in between, whatever suits your preference. I'll go back to the original for now. Dial this one all the way up on the heart. Then the next option, a really useful option if you're, for example, you have a piano or a guitar and you want to change and adjust your frequencies with the Soothe plugin, but not over the whole left-right stereo spectrum. I'll show it to you. You have the mode left and right, and you'll see that the balance here and this knob changes a bit depending on whatever that you select here. So if you put it on mid side, all right. Keeping an eye on my volume in the meantime, by the way, because I've had a little bit of issues before with my video. All right, so we have left and right, and then we have mid side, and you see that it changes here. The left right is basically the white here, because you see the white here is basically the side that you're triggering with the plugin. And if you do it all the way on the right side, it will only trigger your right side. So if you go all the way on the depth, you'll hear that the left starts going down a little bit in volume. So now the left is the original, and the right side is basically what you are changing with the Soothe plugin here. All right. Then the other really interesting feature is that you have the mid side, and basically what that does, it will allow you to change only the middle of your frequency spectrum. For example, if you have a certain vocal that sits in the middle and you want to clean up the middle a little bit but leave the sides as they are, you can use this option here. I'll show it to you. Now it's triggering everything. And now you'll see that the sound becomes more mono, and that's because you're only triggering the left and the right side of your frequency spectrum. All right. So that's it for the balance and the mode option. Then we go off to the attack, and basically attack and release is the same as it will be in a compressor. Is basically the faster your attack, the more aggressive, the faster your plugin will start reacting. The moment the sound goes above the threshold, the slower it is, the more transients and the more sound that will still come through. Okay, so let's say if you have a piano and you want to have hear your fingers and hear the attack, have it somewhere in the middle. If you have a snare, for example, that you want to have really snappy, have a really fast attack so it triggers your sound right away. Then the release option is how fast will your volume go back to the original. For example, again, going back to the piano, if you have long chords and you want to have that smooth volume that keeps going, you want to have a slower release so the volume goes back up over time and it doesn't go back up right away. Okay, then the quality is something I would, all right, so this is for attack and release, and then your quality is something with oversampling resolution, is something that I personally don't use as much. I think this is more for when you're doing mastering. You can do oversampling here, but that's going to be heavier on your CPU, so be careful with that, okay? Then the next thing we have, then I'm going to talk more about the sidechain, is you have the mix knob. So basically, here with the depth, I'm just going to take the preset again, all the way up. The mix knob stands apart from the depth knob, and basically the mix knob is going completely between your original sound and 100% whatever you're doing with this plugin. So if you want to have a blend of both, you can still dial back this knob and leave some of the original sound in there, which is also really helpful. And obviously with the trim option, you can boost some gain that you might have lost because of doing the plugin, which is really helpful when you're bypassing the plugin. All right, then one other thing before we go to the sidechain is we have the delta knob, and that is basically, this will show you whatever is being taken out. Because you'll see this will flip upside down whenever you take it out of. Boom. Alright, so this is the delta and bypass. We've talked about this before. And now let's go to the sidechain. So basically I have a loop here that sounds like this. Alright, so basically what the sidechain does is, first of all, to set it up is you click on the little plus here, go to sidechain, click on the Soothe plugin. First of all, your plugin must already be on there, otherwise it won't see it here. Click on the plus and select your sidechain here. And now I like to just put the volume on 0. So command click, and then it will jump automatically to 0. Okay, so this is now sending out audio to this plugin. Unmute this plugin, obviously, and this channel. All right, and then if you want to start using this, enable the sidechain, and what this will do, to see very clear what it's doing, I'm gonna bring the attack and the release closer to 0. And basically what this will help you do is to make the original sound of your loop, in this case, more audible compared to your strings. To give you a beautiful example is especially pay attention to the low end of this loop and see how the low end starts appearing more as I increase the depth knob. Again, I'm doing this all the way, all these knobs, just to really make clear what this is doing, all right? So, the sidechain is very useful. I'm definitely not saying use this on every plugin, but if you feel like certain frequencies are too much in the way of each other, obviously don't underestimate the power of using regular EQ and making sure your EQing is right. If you're doing low cuts, high cuts, boosting, cutting certain frequencies, because let's say the body of a snare is there and it's conflicting with a certain guitar, you take it out of the guitar so that the body of the snare comes more through. This one does that a little bit automatically for you, but again, what I'm saying is don't rely on this plugin to make your mix. Same if you're not using it in Sidechain, but just regular standalone plugin on a bus or on a channel itself. Don't overdo this. Always go between bypass and take it out of bypass and really think for yourself, is this helping or is it just making it worse, and make it sound more robotic, because still music is a bunch of frequencies working together and you want to keep that natural. I mean, at least from my perspective, you want to keep that natural sound, unless you're really digging that sound that the Soothe plugin is doing if you do it all the way. But again, don't rely on this only to make your balance. This will just fix certain frequencies, but it won't change your sound, the color of your sound, and all of this stuff. So yeah, this is a very good plugin for many different things. You know, another beautiful example, again, to go back to the Sidechain real quick, is that, for example, with bass, if you have a bass guitar, let's say the strings are a bass and the loop is a kick, you can very easily just send the kick to the bass and trigger the bass frequencies, so you have more oomph on your kick, and it will cut better through the mix. Alright, so this is how you can use your Sidechain. Alright, so this is it for this video. I think we covered every knob here. Well, obviously, yes, we didn't cover those here. I'll briefly mention those. You can listen to certain, you know, depending on the knobs that you use here. You can listen. You can listen to the frequencies that you're cutting in here. You have the exact same knobs basically as here, beside frequencies, but you can change that manually. You also see your frequencies up here, the amount of decibels up or below 0. Your Q, as I mentioned before, which is also the sharpness here, you know, a combination of both. And your balance, again, going between the middle, left and right side, and you can customize this as much as you want, okay, because the balance is the same thing as it is here, but here you're doing it in general over everything, and here you can still change it depending on each frequency that you select here. Okay, so yeah, this is it for this plugin. If you have any particular questions about this, you're more than welcome to comment them down below. I hope you find this video useful. If you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free to do so. I make a bunch of different videos, if it's talking about a plugin, if it's mixing, mastering, production, recording tips. I basically look from video to video what is interesting, but I'm always open to hear whatever you are struggling with, and you have certain things that are not very clear in the mixing process. If it's Studio One, certain plugins, workflow, if it's drums, guitar, bass, you can ask me anything. Alright guys, so again, thank you so much if you stick with me till the end of this video. Really appreciate you watching me, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.